Welcome back to the Rated R for Revenue podcast. Today, we're going to have a really important conversation about the first step to getting control of your money. And I know there's a common theme with every client that comes into your world, Becca, me included. Whether you have clients that are not making enough money and their budget is really tight, or you even have clients that are making too much money, if that's even a thing, or a lot of money, but they're like, I have nothing to show for it. I don't know where it's going. The common denominator there is that they don't have control over their money. So whether they have a lot or they don't, it's the same problem. What do you see when your clients come to you, and like, where do you start with them? Why don't you just tell us about that?
So really quickly, I'm going to start with something a little different than that question. But yesterday, I was just on a client call yesterday with, she'd been a client of mine last year. She took a break. She's come back this year. And she said, it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. I'm really good at making money. Where is it? Where is it? I don't know what happened to it. Like it's gone, and I don't know where it went. And so that is I would say that is 85, 90% of my clients. I make money and I don't know where it is. And then the other, the rest of that, what is that? 20, 15, I don't know. The rest of that percentage they're not making enough money to cover their expenses. They think they're not making enough money to cover their expenses. A lot of times that's not even true, that they make plenty of money. Sometimes they make plenty to not only pay their expenses, but to really start working towards their financial goals. So typically, it doesn't matter which camp you are in. They come to me saying, I want to have control of my money. I no longer want to feel this way. I no longer want to guess where my money is or guess if I have enough, but I have no idea where to start. It feels so overwhelming. It feels like it's going to take so much time. And I have never been good with money. And I would say that's 99.9% of what they say when they come to me.
I said most of those things to you. Okay. So I have so many rabbit holes I want to go down on this, but let's go back. So when I came to you and I started in Mind Her Business, I know one of the first thoughts that I had was, okay, so we're going to walk our listeners today through like what the steps are to get control of your money, to start looking at everything and having a bit of a budget. But what a big weight was on my shoulders was I only manage my side of our finances. So my husband and I, in the beginning, when we met, like, he was already, had a family, he was divorced, he had kids. So he already had like a whole financial situation going on of his own. And then I had mine. I had a business, right? I had my money. So when I moved in with him, I didn't want to take over the family finances. I didn't want to pay the mortgage and the bills, right? Like, he already had all that. So that was simple. He was managing his money. He did good with his money. And I contributed, but I just wanted to I was like, how am I going to get in control of my money if I don't really know where our family's money all together is? Because I didn't even want to combine our money. Not that we kept it separate for any reasons other than it was just like, he already has his bank account. I already have mine. I don't want to go down that process of trying to amalgamate it all. So I know that in the beginning you gave me some advice. And so what do you tell people who have their finances separate?
If you want to keep your finances separate, keep them separate. You are in control of what you are in control of. So that may sound too simple to even really comprehend. But if you are, let's say you're living with someone and they want to keep not only their bank account separate, they want to keep their paychecks separate, they want to keep their bills separate, fine. If that is how it works for you to live and it feels good for you to live that way, great. You concentrate on what you can keep track of. What is your income? What are your expenses? What are your financial goals? Even if you are working on a financial goal for both of you and you feel like you're doing it on your own right now, that's okay. Because 9 times out of 10, the partner follows suit at some time. So you're taking action, you're modeling, you are making headway, you're feeling confident, you know what's happening with your money, and you start to get excited. What are you going to do? You're going to share that with your partner. You're going to share that with your spouse, right? And be like, "Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe how much money I made this month and how much money I got to keep this month." And that's going to blur the lines a little bit. Typically, the other person will start to say, "Oh, well, like maybe this is something I'm interested in." And that doesn't always mean you put your finances together either. That does not mean that you join your bank accounts all the time. What it does mean is that you both know what is going on. You both know how much the other makes. You both know what the other's expenses are, and you both know how much money that person has left at the end of the month and what you're going to do with that money to move your finances or your financial goals forward. So, if you're in a situation where you don't share finances with the other person, that's okay. That is okay. You don't have to overhaul the whole system to start. And I think that's where that phrase, "I don't know where to start," comes from, because it does feel like you have to just scrap everything you've ever known, everything you've ever done, and start with a system that is hard, because it's going to be hard to get your spouse or your partner on board. It's going to be hard. And that's not the case. It was the same with you. You were like, that feels hard to do both of ours together but separate." Then don't.
To
Start with
both
yours.
learn how to manage and track our money, and then also learn how to manage and pay for our entire household of 5 people at the time, now 6.
Yeah.
So, okay, because my husband and I have been together 8 years, and a little bit later in this episode, I'm going to tell you about how I actually just did join all of our finances after 8 years, and why I did that. So I'm going to come back to that a little bit later in this episode. But I want to start with where I started. So what did I do? So I remember you telling me that's okay. Start with what you have control over and what you do pay for. What do you contribute? How can you manage that and track that and budget for that? So we started with my business and then what I was responsible for within our household. So like if you pay groceries in your household, or if you contribute to something specific, or maybe you and your partner both plug X amount of money into a joint bank account that pays. So you just budget for like, what are you responsible for? And that's what I did. So I started with my business because it also had a lot less to track, right? Like our expenses, there's, 5 things that I pay every month out of there versus 25 or, 40 in the family budget. So it gave me something to start practicing with and to see, how can I take control of this? How can I build the habit of managing the finances over here? And that's the reason I was able to so confidently take over our family's budget. And my family of 6 is not just simply our family. We have now multiple businesses, a rental, my business, his bit, like there's a lot going on. So it wasn't a simple task, but I was able to confidently take over that bookkeeping for all of it because I have these skills now and this confidence in knowing how to do it. That's been really fun and I'm really enjoying actually.
Yeah, you're a different person. But I do remember you saying like, I can't start with personal. That feels really hard. And at the time, I almost felt like personal first was necessary. And now I teach my clients the complete opposite. And the reason that is because business typically is more fun to track. It's easier because you don't have a whole household full of expenses. And usually business owners kind of know what they're paying for. One of the things that I run into the most is maybe they don't have their accounts separated, and that can get really tricky. But typically it is separate. And they do know what they're spending, but they're probably spending more than they have to, more than is necessary so that they can see a profit. So we do business first because it's more fun. It gets them pumped up about how much money they actually are making, how much money they actually can keep at the end of the month. And then we switch gears to personal, because personal, now that you have the structure down, because it's the same, you track it the same as business. Now that you have the structure down and you know how to do it, it's easier to do it for the harder part of the two. And that's when you get to kind of line them up together. I'm making this much, I'm keeping this much in my business, and I need this much in my personal. Do they match? Do I need to make more in my business, or do I need to cut expenses? Do I need to do both? Do I need to cut expenses in my personal to make them match up? So that's where it gets fun for me, because I get to usually pull back the curtain and be like, you make more than enough money right now, way more money than you thought you needed to really cover your business, like really run your business and cover all of your personal and live the lifestyle that you want to live. Because that's one thing I'm big on. If you don't want to live like a pauper, like, then don't. But
What's a
make
popper?
sure it's a poor person.
I've never heard that term. I love it.
I'm pretty sure it's like medieval times. Also, I could be wrong about that. But like if you don't want to live frugal, like if you don't want to shop frugally and you don't want to take inexpensive vacations, like that's fine. As long as you have the cash flow. Now, we talked about that in a couple episodes ago. So if you don't know what cash flow is, pause right now and go back to that episode and do that first. But if you have the cash flow to not only comfortably cover your business and your household and live the lifestyle that you want, I'm okay with that. But if you are living a lifestyle that you cannot cover without loading credit cards every single month and not being able to pay them, there just needs to be some adjustment there. We might need to pause a bit to catch up to your lifestyle, and that's okay too.
Yeah. Okay, so let's walk them through what a budget. I mean, I guess I could do this through sharing the example of how I just took over our families, because I just went through this. So I feel like I went back to square one when I was just starting to take control of our money. If you are not currently looking at your money, tracking your money in any way, like where would you, let's walk them through where they would start in a budget, whether it's for business or personal. What do you tell your clients? Number one, because I know most of us are not looking. Most of us are afraid to look. And most of us are also getting into that perfectionism mentality of like, I'm going to have to balance my book to make sure every penny is tracked, every penny is accounted for. And that feels like a really daunting task as well.
Yeah. I would tell you the first thing I want you to do is open up your bank account and look at it. Just look at it. That causes more anxiety, I have found, than anything else. I don't want to look at my bank account. Well, why not? I don't know what I'm going to find. Well, let's do it and see what we're going to find.
Bad, right?
It's going to be so bad. I'm going to be thousands in the negative. I have a ton of overdraft fees. Like, it's going to be really bad. Usually it's not. Usually it's like, oh, look, I have a couple $1,000s in there. Look at your bank account first. And what that's going to do is release the pressure that your brain is experiencing right now. Like, it's causing anxiety for you not to know what the number is in your bank account, which creates a lot more anxiety. Like, it's this cycle of, I don't know what's happening, but I can't look because it's going to be bad. So it's months and months have passed and I still don't know. And it feels even worse than it did 3 months ago. So open your bank account, look at your bank account. If the only thing you do after that is to track what income you have, because that's a lot more fun than tracking expenses, then write down all of the income that you have for this month. Whatever month you're listening to this, as we record this, it's May of 2023. It's May 10th. So I would say start May 1st. Don't go back to January 1st. That is really hard for your brain to wrap itself around, right? Start May 1st. Write down all of the income that you have already seen hit your bank account. And then I want you to write down all the income that you know is coming for the month. Guaranteed. Someone signed a contract, someone like is on auto pay. You know that money is coming. It just has not hit your account. Look at your income first. Let your brain relax. If you still feel like you want to keep going, now I want you to track what expenses have left your account already and which ones you know are leaving your account. Here's where it gets tricky. A lot of business owners sign up for a lot of subscriptions that they feel like they need, and they don't actually know what they're paying for. So tracking your expenses is actually more necessary than your income because that's what you're spending. That's what other people are getting from you, which means that's not what you're keeping for yourself.
I remember, and this feeling has come up for me many times throughout my career. I remember feeling like what I actually had to do was not even like about the money. It was about putting my pride aside because I had those feelings too. It's going to be bad. I don't have control. It's going to be overwhelming. It's going to be really hard. And what it actually was me going, no, it's going to be worse if you don't. It's not going to get better if you don't. And that was the shift that I was like, well, how long are you going to let it keep being bad? And it wasn't bad, but it felt like that's the fear, right? How long are you going to keep going down this hole where you could be getting control of it? And it is what it is, right? Like that's the part I had to tell myself. It is what it is. There's no point in shaming yourself. There's no point in hiding because you can't make it better if you don't start. And I had to start by asking for help. When I was 22, I had to ask my mom to consolidate my debts after university so that I wasn't paying a bunch of different places and seeing a bunch of interest building up that I couldn't afford. That took a lot of pride for me to go to her and say, hey, I feel like it's bad. I need some help. Can you help me? And she did. And we made it better. And so it's about putting that aside and going, I need to take control of this.
There are two positions you can be in. You can either live in a state of, I don't know what's happening with my money and I know it's going to be bad, whether that's the truth or not. Or you could live in the state of mind, I know what's happening with my money. I don't love the situation that I'm in right now, but I have choices. Now I get to decide what happens to me, what happens to my money. You can either be in control no matter what financial goals you are close to or you feel really far away from. You can feel in control of your money, or you can keep letting this stuff just happen to you and not have any control over it. What I do know, and this is true for any business owner, I will die on this hill. If you are not in control of your money, you're not in control of your business. Period.
Yes.
You cannot be in control of your business and not know what's happening with your money. It's not possible because your brain is always going, do we have enough money? Ooh, do we need another client? Do we need 5 clients this month? I should have worked this hour this morning rather than drinking another cup of coffee. I can't go see my kids at school today and eat lunch with them because I have to work. I have to. These are the things that your brain starts doing to you when you don't have control of your money. Nobody wants to run a business like that. It's impossible.
And that goes for both people who feel like they're not making enough and people who know they're making enough, but they don't want to maybe sacrifice the way that they're currently living with all of that. But they know they're wasting a lot of money because they don't know where it's going, but they know they really like their lifestyle.
Yes. 1,000%.
So, okay, let's walk them through. Because like I said, I just actually took control over our family's finances. So now I run the show now. I've got all, I got it all. But I actually felt excited for the first time. I still didn't want to do it. I will say, when I said, okay, I'm gonna make it, this is gonna be the month that I'm gonna take it over. It started. Okay, it started. And this was last month, at the end of April. It started with me going, okay, Andrew, sit down beside me. Let's open up your bank account and just show me what we're working with here. Because he has sub accounts, savings for kids' activities, and this and that. Like, he's organized. He doesn't track the way that I wanted to track. So that's why I was like, I want to have a snapshot of all the things so that we can manage all of our businesses that all have different not even bank accounts. We actually have different banks for every business to keep it really simple and really separate. So I think I have 4 that I log into for all the different things. But we started with, okay, the family's budget. Let's just log in and just show me what I'm looking at here. And that was the first step. And I was like, okay, I see this now.
Now I know.
Now I know what I'm looking at. Okay. That was the first thing I did. Then I said, okay, I'm going to pull out my spreadsheet and I'm going to, at the top, put in all of our income. So I put in, his paycheck and then our rental income and then our business income and my coaching business income. And those are our incomes at the top. And what do I know is coming in each month for those? And I looked back into April because this was the end of April that I was doing this. And I started on April 1st and I plugged it in as sort of like not an imaginary month, but I didn't plan to like really start for April. I was telling myself, we're just going to put it all into April's spreadsheet and see what it looks like.
Right.
So I started with all the incomes. And then under that, we know that the expenses there's a lot more. Did you want to say something about that?
No, I was well, yes, sort of.
Go ahead. We'll pause there.
You said, now you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's because the numbers were just information for you.
Yeah.
Literally just information.
Yes.
So when we talked earlier about track your income and your expenses as they are today, and then write down what you think is coming in and what you think is leaving your account, that's data. It's information. It doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't mean anything about how smart you are or how you run your business. What it means is now that you see the data, you can make changes. Now that you see the information, you get to make a choice. Whereas you didn't have a choice before.
Right. And I will clarify by saying I knew what accounts he had because we decided them together. Like I'm not oblivious to my family's financial situation. Yeah. I don't want anyone to think that. I knew his sub accounts because we had budgeted out a plan years ago together. And that's like, so we had this plan together. I just didn't manage it. I didn't look at it.
Yeah.
So I trusted him to do the actual organizing of our money, and he did. So that there was no issues there. It's just this was a matter of us having a snapshot of everything so we can make the most out of the bird's eye view. And it just made more sense for us in this place.
Yeah.
So I knew what I was gonna see, but at the same time, just the fact that I hadn't ever logged into that myself was just overwhelming.
Yeah, you didn't know.
I didn't know. But looking at it was like, okay, there's step 1. That wasn't so hard to look at, to think about managing now. Okay. So once I had that snapshot, then we go to expenses. And so what I did with April, and this is why this is like, if you're, if you're about to do this or if you're thinking about this, you're like, yeah, there is a lot. Like you've got insurances that you're paying. We have, I think on my insurance, so I categorized everything. I went insurances. There's house insurance. There's truck insurance. There's a trailer insurance. There's the hunting camper that we have, the business truck. Like there's a lot, two homes. Like there's a lot of insurance that comes out every month. And then there's our utilities for our home. So our bills, our mortgage, our groceries, I put under utilities and bills. So I categorized those. And, then our savings account. So we have an account for eating out, account for the kids' activities and hockey. And our Canadian household needs a hockey account. So we have like our accounts where we save for spending basically. And then we have our retirement savings, tax-free savings account, investment accounts, that money comes out of our paycheck every paycheck to go, $50 here, a couple $100 there. So I categorize everything. And the way I was able to do that was going to open up I started with our debit account, and then I opened up our credit card because those are the 2 places that money comes out of in our situation. And I looked at, there's the water bill. That is titled this. That's going to be monthly. And I would plug that in and make a note that said monthly. And then I would see, that one's a quarterly, our property taxes or something. And I would make a note quarterly. So I just listed everything out that I could see that was a constant. Anything that was like Walmart or little things like that, I just left them alone. I just ignored them for now, unless I knew they were groceries or something.
Right.
So it started with just looking at the debit account. What are the constants? What do I know is going to come out every month or quarterly or annually or whatever it looks like? And then same thing with the MasterCard. What comes out of there that is a constant? Now I have a snapshot of where our money is going in April. And April is probably going to be pretty similar to May and June and July. And yes, some months are going to be more and less because the heat's going to be more in the winter. But I'll get that data come winter when I see how the bills evolve.
Right.
So what I did to summarize that is I put it all into April. I then moved all my expenses into categories, like I said. So I started with just listing them out. Then I grouped them so they made sense. Mm-hmm. And then I said, that's my kind of practice sheet. I'm actually going to clear the slate with now my list of where the money's going to go this month. And on May 1st, I'm going to actually start tracking. So April didn't need to be perfect. It didn't need to be pretty. It was just to give me a place to get familiar. And then May 1st, I started tracking and it was really exciting.
It's like almost you're desensitizing yourself to the emotions that you're feeling about the numbers, and you're just
the job, like the emotions about having to take on this new task.
Right.
That's what was feeling hard for me. It was the thought of having to have one more job on my plate. I wanted it. Like, so I actively did this. We didn't need to do this. My husband was happy doing it. I think he'd probably prefer to keep doing it because he liked doing it. But it made sense for us to be able to make the decisions we want to make as a family with all the investments we're making and the expansions we're doing in our business. It made sense for us to have one person doing bookkeeping.
Yes. Yes. Well, this reminds me, like when you're talking, it reminded me, I was talking to a different client yesterday, and there's a lot going on in her business that's out of her control, right? She's moving things around, she's restructuring, she's just like getting really streamlined business wise. And I asked her, we started in February, and in February she said, I don't want to look at my money. I'm scared of what I'm going to see. I've never been good with money, and this is going to be the hardest thing that I've ever done. Those were the things she said to me. And I was like, challenge accepted. Let's have fun. And yesterday, May 9th, all of this stuff is happening in her business. So she feels like the rug is being a little bit pulled out from under her in business. And I said, well, how is that going with your money? And she said, money's the easy part. Are you kidding me?
I love it.
And I was like, can you repeat that? Because I need to record it. Like,
yes.
Not for me, but for you. Just February, March, April, not even 4 full months, because we're only a week into May. 3 months and a week later, not only your business, but your personal money is so under control that you feel like you can step into these situations in your business and take control of those because your money feels easy. How would that feel if your money just felt messy still? And she was like, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would be debilitated right now because money feels like a mess, but I don't have time to do the money. And I now don't have time to fix the business stuff that's going on. She said, I would have felt like giving up, and I would have felt like I was the only one on earth who ever felt this way. So doing this feels hard when you start. It feels really hard to get your brain engaged, to get excited, to know that things can change, and they can change very quickly in the best way possible.
Very quickly.
She's had 2 of her highest revenue months in her career, back to back, April and May. March and April. And she's paid herself the most that she's ever paid herself in March and April. So it's not just about getting control of the money. It's letting that take a back seat. Like, all right, I got you under control. Get in the back, because me and the business are driving right now. Like, we have this space and the freedom to roll the windows down, like turn the radio up, and really enjoy what we're doing right now. Really enjoy the ride. And we'll check on you when we need to. Like, we're good. That's what it can feel like.
Right. And I mean, even back when I just got my business finances in order, I was able to hire a team member almost immediately after I got my money written down, because I would have said there's not a chance that I can afford somebody anytime soon. And I was able to see what was coming in, what was going out, how much I had. It was still tight, but I was like, okay, this is an investment that is going to give me my time back. So now I was able to start making smart business decisions and moves, like making moves like a CEO, like a business owner, because I knew what I had.
Right.
Right. I was able to. So you can't make decisions confidently when you're guessing. And that's why it feels hard, because you're guessing.
You can make a decision and you will never feel good about it. It'll always feel like, did I make the right choice? Can I actually afford this? So knowing your numbers is giving you the information that you need to make sound decisions. To say, I can't afford this, but do I want it? I can't afford this. Will it give me time and or money back? I can go on vacation this week and not worry about business at all. I don't have to work through my kids' vacation or my family's vacation. It just gives you so many options, and it relaxes your brain. It gives you the mental freedom, the mental capacity that you want to be able to run after those business goals and those family goals, those financial goals, whatever it is, all of the above.
And I think one of the things I realized in that moment of hiring that VA was, you know, we have our eyes always set on 5K months, 10K months in this, you know, online world. And, you know, you teach in Mind Her Business your freedom number. Like, what number do you actually need to have the things that you want? Like, pay for your life and have some of those extras, or have all the extras, but just like minimally, what do you actually need? Mm-hmm. And it's usually like $2,400, or like just nowhere near that 5K or 10K mark that we have in our mind. And we tell ourselves, well, I'm only making 2K right now, so I'm not even close. I'm failing. When really it's like, do you realize that if you only actually need to make an extra $500 a month to be able to live the way that you want to live, or, you know, maybe $100 extra a month would pay for some support, or like, it's usually something really nominal to get this thing that's been weighing on you. But in your brain, you're going, I need to make $4,000 more a month in order to have that. And they're so polar opposite. So it gives you the, you know, maybe it's not that always I already can afford all of this. Like, that would be a perfect world, right? I already can afford a surprise. I have, you know, extra thousands of dollars in the bank every month. That's not everyone's case, but it's usually like, oh, I only need to sign one more client a month to live that way. Or I only need to make this many dollars more a month to be able to invest in that next thing. It's usually never as extreme as what we're telling ourselves it's going to be. And it allows you to make really confident decisions, or be able to know what your next most important move is in your business in order to start moving in the direction you want to go.
It just gives you the choices that you need to make a decision. That's it. Knowing your numbers gives you choices.
So I'm going to give you a really random analogy. And then I want to ask our audience, before I do that, I want to ask you to go into the show notes under this episode, because we are starting the after show over on Instagram, where we're going to be live elaborating on an episode, or answering your questions and your feedback that you can submit to us in that Google form. So go to the show note. If there's something that stood out to you in today's episode, or an episode that you're listening to, if you have a question that you want us to go deeper into, something specific we mentioned that you were like, oh, I have more questions about that, that's where you can literally come, ask the question, and we will share it live on the after show on Instagram Live.
Or your specific situation. Like,
yes,
if we touched on something that you felt like was something you're going through, but you want your exact situation spoken to, let us know. We would love to do that.
We can give you feedback, and it can be anonymous. So you don't actually have to say who it is. And if you want to, you can, but you can submit anonymously, and we will go deeper into your specific question around your situation and give you our feedback on that. So we're really, really excited for this after show to be able to connect with you on a deeper level, and bring these topics more specifically to our listeners, and help you apply what you're learning to your circumstance. I'm going to give you this analogy, and it's a really annoying one. So we talk a lot, we joke a lot that we both just hate exercise. And I hired a trainer a few summers ago. I had a new baby at home and I hired him, and I had a lot of back pain after I had my son. And I worked out with him just twice a week because I wanted it simple. He came to my house, so I didn't have an excuse. I didn't have to leave the house. Like, it was great. And I loved it. And in 3 weeks, 6 workouts. Okay, let me say that again. In 3 weeks, 6 workouts, my back pain was almost gone. So I say that because that's how your money can be. It sounds like, oh, I'm going to have to budget. It's going to take me so long to figure it out, to be able to make decisions. I'm going to have to spend months and months getting, to know it all. And you literally just need to get the numbers written down and start somewhere. And it's going to feel so good. You're going to have such a clear picture in so much less time than you think it's going to take. I wouldn't have been able to imagine my back pain could go away in 6 workouts, 6 1-hour workouts. How ridiculous is that I suffered for so long and all I needed to spend was 1 hour twice a week for 3 weeks to make my back pain go away. That's how your money can feel. It can be that simple, and it isn't going to take ages and ages like your brain is telling you that it's going to take.
No. When you start this process, even if it's just looking at your bank account, opening your bank account, when you start this process, DM me, tag me, something. Let me know that you've started the process so I can cheer you on, so I can be your moral support, and let us know how it's going.
Yeah. We are cheering you on. We want you to get started, and it just takes that first step to make everything else feel easier in your financial situation, in your business making decisions. It all starts with just opening it up, getting a look, and that is the first step to taking total control of your money.